Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Flory Porte, and I am currently pursuing my Bachelor of Science in Nursing at the University of Rizal System, Taytay Campus. In today's session, we are going to dive into the fascinating world of biodiversity and symbiosis. We will explore how the delicate balance between science, nature, and biodiversity shapes our society's well-being. By the end of this presentation, I hope you will appreciate the intricate connections between all living organisms and understand why preserving biodiversity is crucial for our future. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity refers to the variety of life on Earth. It includes ecosystems, species, and genetic diversity. Biodiversity at its core refers to the incredible variety of life on Earth. It encompasses every living organism, from the smallest microorganisms that are invisible to the naked eye, to the largest mammals roaming the land. But biodiversity isn't just about the individual species, it also includes the ecosystem they form, like forests, oceans, and wetlands, as well as the genetic diversity within those species. Every species plays a specific role, contributing to the stability and functionality of ecosystems. When we talk about biodiversity, we're referring to the three key levels. First, there's genetic diversity, which is the variation in genes within a species. This is crucial because it allows species to adapt to changing environments and ensures their survival over time. The second is species diversity, which refers to the variety of species on Earth. Finally, we have ecosystem diversity, which refers to the different habitats and ecological processes that occur in various regions around the globe, from rainforests to deserts to coral reefs. Biodiversity is not just an abstract concept, it's the web of life that binds everything together, supporting everything from food chains to the air we breathe. Without biodiversity, ecosystems would collapse and life we know it would not be sustainable. Simply put, biodiversity is essential for the health and functioning of our planet. Why is biodiversity important? Ecosystem services such as clean air and water and food, economic value, cultural and aesthetic value, health benefits. So why is biodiversity so crucial? The answer is simple but profound. Biodiversity is the foundation of our very existence. It plays an essential role in supporting the life-sustaining services that ecosystems provide. These ecosystem services are absolutely vital for our survival. For instance, forests, oceans, and wetlands help purify the air we breathe, filter the water we drink, and stabilize the climate. They also provide fertile soil that is essential for growing the food we eat. In short, without biodiversity, many of the systems that support human life would collapse. Economically, biodiversity is invaluable. It supports industries like agriculture, forestry, fishing, and pharmaceuticals, all of which rely on the diverse species and ecosystems for resources. The agricultural industry, for example, depends on pollinators like bees, while the fishing industry relies on healthy marine ecosystem. Moreover, the pharmaceutical industry benefits from a rich variety of plant and animal species, many of which provide the raw materials for life-saving medicines. In fact, more than 50% of modern medicines are derived from natural resources, demonstrating how closely our health is tied to biodiversity. But the value of biodiversity goes beyond economics. It holds deep cultural and aesthetic significance as well. Think about the art, traditions, and practices of indigenous cultures that have evolved alongside their environment. Many communities around the world have spiritual connections to specific animals, plants, and landscapes. Biodiversity also enriches our everyday lives, offering spaces for recreation and beauty. National parks, wildlife reserves, and scenic landscapes draw millions of visitors each year, providing both physical and mental well-being. Perhaps most critically, the health of biodiversity is directly connected to human health. Healthy ecosystems regulate diseases by controlling pathogens and pests, preventing the spread of infectious diseases. In addition, many of the world's most important medicines are derived from plants, fungi, and other natural organisms, which could hold the keys to curing new diseases and health challenges. So, when we protect biodiversity, we're not just preserving the planet's beauty and balance, we're also safeguarding our own future and well-being. Now, let's proceed to symbiosis. What is symbiosis? It refers to a close, long-term interaction between different species. Symbiotic relationships are vital for the stability of ecosystems. Let's take a closer look at the concept of symbiosis. Symbiosis is a biological term that refers to a close, long-term interaction between two different species. It can occur in various forms and is a crucial factor in sustaining the stability of ecosystems. These interactions can be so intertwined that one species may not survive or thrive without the other. Now, symbiosis isn't just about cooperation or positive interactions. It's about all kinds of relationships that occur between species, whether mutually beneficial or not. The symbiotic relationships in nature contribute to the complexity and diversity of ecosystems, making them more resilient and adaptive to changes, whether it's plants, animals, fungi, or microorganisms. Symbiosis is a fundamental aspect of how life on Earth functions. In ecosystems, these relationships help with tasks like pollination, nutrient cycling, and even defending species from predators. Symbiosis is truly a cornerstone of nature's interconnectivity, and understanding these interactions helps us appreciate the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. Now, these are the types of symbiosis: mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. In mutualism, both species benefit like bees and flowers. Commensalism is when one species benefits while the other is unaffected, like barnacles on a whale. Parasitism occurs when one species benefits at the expense of another, such as ticks feeding on an animal. These relationships are essential for ecosystem balance. Now let us dig deeper into Mutualism. Mutualism is a type of symbiotic relationship where both species involved benefit from the interaction, and it's one of the most positive and cooperative forms of connection in nature. A classic example of mutualism can be seen in the relationship between bees and flowers. When bees visit flowers to collect nectar for food, they unintentionally transfer pollen from one flower to another, aiding in the process of pollination. In return, the bees receive the nourishment they need to survive. This relationship is beneficial for both parties. The bee gets its food source while the flower is pollinated, enabling it to produce seeds and reproduce. Without this mutualistic interaction, many plant species would struggle to reproduce, and bees would face food shortages. This mutually beneficial relationship is essential for maintaining biodiversity as it helps to ensure the survival of both plant species and pollinators, which are integral parts of ecosystems around the world. Mutualism isn't just limited to bees and flowers. There are countless examples in nature, such as the relationship between certain species of birds and large herbivores like buffalo. The birds feed on insects that are found on buffalo skin, and in return, the buffalo gets a natural form of pest control. These types of mutualistic relationship enhance ecosystem productivity and stability by fostering collaboration between different species, ultimately contributing to the health and balance of the environment. Commensalism. Commensalism is a type of relationship where one species benefits, but the other species is not affected. This means one organism gets something from the relationship, but the other doesn't gain or lose anything. A good example of commensalism is the relationship between barnacles and whales. Barnacles are small creatures that attach themselves to the skin of whales. As the whale swims through the ocean, the barnacles get carried along with it. This gives barnacles access to nutrient-rich waters where they can feed on tiny organisms without having to move around. For the barnacles, this is very helpful because they don't have to find food themselves. However, the whale doesn't get any benefits from the barnacles being on it, and it isn't harmed by their presence either. It's a neutral situation for the whale. Nothing changes for it. Again, commensalism shows us that not all relationships in nature involve both species gaining something. Sometimes, one species benefits while the other just goes along without any change. Finally, parasitism. Parasitism is a type of relationship where one species benefits but the other is harmed. In this case, the parasite gains something, usually food or shelter, while the host suffers in some way. A common example of parasitism is the relationship between ticks and mammals. Ticks are small creatures that attach themselves to mammals, such as deer or dogs, and feed on their blood. The tick benefits by getting the nutrients it needs, but the mammal is harmed. Losing blood can weaken the host animal, and ticks can also transmit diseases like Lyme disease. In this way, the parasite is benefiting but the host is suffering. While parasitism might seem harmful, it's an important part of nature. Parasites can help control animal populations by affecting the health of certain species, which in turn keeps ecosystems balanced. Even though parasitism often harms the host, it still plays a role in regulating the relationships between species in nature. Biodiversity and the health of ecosystems. Biodiversity stabilizes ecosystems. Ecosystem resilience to environmental changes. Example, coral reefs and biodiversity. Biodiversity plays a crucial role in keeping ecosystems healthy and functioning. When there is a wide variety of species in an ecosystem, it helps to stabilize the system, allowing it to respond and adapt to environmental changes more effectively. The more diverse an ecosystem is, the more likely it is to withstand disruptions such as climate change, natural disasters, or human impacts like deforestation or pollution. This is because different species play different roles in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem, from pollination to nutrient cycling to predation. Each species contributes to the resilience of the system, making it more adaptable to change. A great example of how biodiversity contributes to the health of ecosystems can be seen in coral reefs. Coral reefs are some of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, home to thousands of species of life, fish, corals, plants, and other marine life. These species work together to maintain the reef's structure and health. Coral reefs depend on the interactions between corals, algae, fish, and other organisms to thrive. If the biodiversity of a coral reef is reduced, the whole ecosystem becomes weaker and more vulnerable to the environment threats like ocean acidification, warming waters, and pollution. Without biodiversity, coral reefs would struggle to survive, and the species that depend on them would also be at risk. In contrast, ecosystems with lower biodiversity are more fragile. When one species is lost, it can cause a chain reaction affecting other species and entire ecosystem stability. For example, the loss of a keystone species, like a predator or pollinator, can disrupt the entire food chain or prevents plants from reproducing, leading to long-term consequences for the ecosystem. In summary, biodiversity is vital for the health and resilience of ecosystem. A diverse range of species help ensure that ecosystem can adapt to changes, recover from disturbances, and continue to provide the important services that support life on Earth. Human society and biodiversity. Food security and biodiversity, agriculture and crop diversity, medicine and biodiversity. Biodiversity is not just important for the natural world, it is also essential for human society in many ways, particularly in ensuring food security. The diversity of plants and animals is crucial for agriculture, as it helps us maintain a steady and healthy food supply. Crop diversity, for example, makes farming more resilient to diseases, pests, and the challenges posed by climate change. If we rely on just a few types of crops, a disease or pest outbreak could devastate our food systems. But with a wide variety of crops, farmers are better equipped to manage those risks, ensuring stable and diverse food sources for communities around the world. In addition to food, biodiversity provides us with invaluable resources for medicine. Over half of all modern medicines are derived from natural sources, plants, fungi, and animals. Many of the life-saving drugs we rely on today, like painkillers, antibiotics, and even cancer treatments come from substances found in nature. For example, aspirin, which we use to relieve headaches and reduce inflammation, was originally derived from the bark of willow trees. This connection between biodiversity and medicine is vital not only for treating illnesses but also for ongoing medical research and innovation. As scientists continue to study the natural world, they may discover the new species that could lead to the next breakthrough in medicine. Overall, biodiversity is fundamental to human well-being. It directly impacts our food security, our health, and even the future of medical discoveries. Protecting biodiversity means protecting the resources we depend on for survival and progress. The threats to biodiversity: habitat destruction, climate change, overexploitation, invasive species. Unfortunately, biodiversity is facing numerous threats, many of which are caused by human activities. One of the biggest threats is habitat destruction, which happens when forests are cleared for agriculture or urban development. This destruction not only reduces the amount of land available for wildlife but also fragments habitats, making it harder for species to survive. Species that rely on specific environment can be driven to extinction when their habitats are destroyed or altered. Another major threat is climate change, which is changing the conditions of habitats across the globe. Rising temperatures, shifting rainfall patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events are all disrupting ecosystems and forcing species to adapt, migrate, or face extinction. As climate zones shift, many species are unable to keep up with the changes, leading to a loss of biodiversity. Next is overexploitation of natural resources is also a critical issue. Overfishing, illegal logging, and the overharvesting of plants and animals for food, medicine, or trade are depleting species faster than they can recover. For example, overfishing is not only threatening fish populations, but also affecting entire marine ecosystem that rely on a balanced food chain. Finally, invasive species are another significant threat to biodiversity. These are species that are introduced to new areas, often by human activity, and they disrupt local ecosystems by outcompeting native species for resources. Invasive species often have no natural predators in their new environment, allowing them to spread quickly and dominate, sometimes leading to the decline or extinction of native species. These threats to biodiversity are accelerating at an alarming rate, and their impacts are also felt not just by wildlife but also by humans. As ecosystems collapse and species disappear, we lose vital resources such as food, clean water, and medicine. This makes it more important than ever to take action to protect biodiversity before it's too late. Symbiosis in human society. How humans are part of the natural symbiotic web, mutual benefits with nature, our responsibility as stewards of the earth. Humans are not separate from nature. In fact, we are an important part of the natural symbiotic web. Just like other species, we rely on the earth for the food resources we need to survive, like water, food, air, and even the raw materials that support our industries. In many ways, our relationship with nature mirrors the symbiotic relationships we see in the wild. For example, Just as bees help flowers to reproduce through pollination, we depend on healthy ecosystems to provide the services we need, such as clean water, fertile soil, and stable climates. However, our relationship with nature should be mutually beneficial. Right now, in many cases, human activities are causing harm to ecosystems, leading to imbalances that affect biodiversity and the health of the planet. Our responsibility as stewards of the earth is to ensure that we take care of the natural world and make choices that benefit both us and the environment. We need to protect the resources that sustain us and work to restore the delicate balance that exists between human society and the natural world. This means taking steps to reduce pollution, conserve habitats, protect endangered species, and use natural resources more sustainably. By acting responsibly, we can ensure that the Earth's ecosystem remain healthy for future generations, allowing us to continue the benefit from the services nature provides while preserving biodiversity for the long term. Our future and the future of countless other species depends on how well we manage this symbiotic relationship. In conclusion, biodiversity is not just something we should think about. It is the foundation of all life on Earth. Every living thing, from the tiny insects to large animals and plants, plays an important role in keeping ecosystems healthy and balanced. Our survival, our health, and our quality of life are all closely connected to the well-being of these ecosystems. When ecosystems are rich in biodiversity, they provide us with everything we need: clean air, fresh water, food, medicine, and many other resources that help us live. Understanding symbiosis, the idea that all living things are connected and rely on each other, is a powerful lesson. It shows us that we are not separate from nature, but are part of the natural world. Just like species in nature depend on each other, we must learn to live in a way that respects and protects the environment. If we do this, we can build a future where both humans and nature can thrive together. As we move forward, it's important to remember that the choices we make today have a big impact on the world of tomorrow. If we take steps to protect biodiversity and live more sustainably, we can help ensure that ecosystems remain strong and healthy. By working together, we can make sure that the planet remains a place where all living things, humans, animals, and plants can live in harmony. The future is in our hands, and it's up to us to protect the web of life that sustains us all.